The silver halls of the Galactic Academy of Sciences buzzed with excitement. Today was special. The first human student would join their ranks. Floating screens displayed alerts about environmental modifications in Section D, where the new arrival would stay. The Academy staff had spent weeks preparing for this moment, though none of them truly understood what hosting a deathworlder meant. Jack stood at the entrance, his worn backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked ordinary enough. Brown hair, plain face, average height. But to the beings around him, he was anything but ordinary. The security scanner beeped wildly as he passed through, causing the blue-skinned security officer to jump back. "Sorry about that," Jack said with an easy smile. "Earth metals in my bones. Your scanner probably isn't used to that." The officer blinked all four of his eyes. "Earth metals? Yeah, calcium. Makes our bones strong enough for Earth's gravity." Jack shrugged as if this was the most normal thing in the world. To him, it was. A tall, thin figure glided forward. Professor First, the Academy's head of xenobiology, had volunteered to be Jack's guide. Their silvery skin rippled with patches of green, a sign of nervous excitement in their species. "Welcome, Student Jack. We've been eagerly awaiting your arrival." The professor's translator converted their melodic tones into standard galactic English. "Though I must insist you visit our medical bay first. Your vital signs appear concerning." Jack followed the professor through corridors filled with curious onlookers. Students from 100 worlds stopped to stare. Some wore environmental suits, others floated in anti-gravity fields, and a few were just shimmering clouds of gas. Each evolved for their own world's conditions, none of them quite like Earth. In the medical bay, the instruments went crazy. The chief medical officer, Dr. Bright, a crystalline being who communicated through light pulses, frantically checked the readings. "This can't be right," they flickered. "Your heart rate is double our safety parameters. Your body temperature would cook most species alive. And the pressure in your circulatory system. Oh, that's normal for humans," Jack explained. "We're warm-blooded, and Earth's gravity needs strong blood pressure to pump up to our brains." A small crowd of students had gathered at the medical bay's observation window. Jack waved at them, causing several to retreat in surprise. One brave soul, a student with iridescent scales, waved back. "Fascinating," Professor First said, their skin now showing patches of bright yellow, the color of scientific curiosity. "And you say all humans have these adaptations?" "Pretty much. Some are even tougher than me. I'm just an average guy from Minnesota." The medical staff exchanged worried looks. If this was average, what were the tough humans like? After the checkup, Professor First led Jack to his quarters. The room was reinforced to handle Earth normal gravity, with atmospheric controls set to match Earth's harsh conditions. To Jack, it felt like home. To everyone else, it was a death trap. "The environmental seals are quadruple layered," Professor First explained. "The oxygen levels in your room would be toxic to most students. And the gravity." "Thanks for all the trouble," Jack said, tossing his bag onto the bed. The soft thump made Professor First flinch. "Though you really didn't need to worry so much. Humans are pretty adaptable." As the professor left, they heard Jack humming a tune while unpacking. Their skin rippled with blue waves of concern. How would the Academy handle this creature who treated deadly conditions as comfortable and saw extreme danger as normal? Outside, the curious students whispered among themselves. The iridescent scaled student who had waved earlier spoke up. "Did you see how he moved? Like the gravity wasn't even there. And his temperature," another gasped. "He's basically a walking star." Little did they know, this was just the beginning. Jack's presence would challenge everything they thought they knew about life in the galaxy. And tomorrow would be his first real class. On his second day at the Galactic Academy, Jack joined his first physical education class. The gymnasium was a massive chamber with adjustable gravity fields, designed to accommodate students from all kinds of worlds. Most students floated in low-gravity bubbles, while others wore support suits to move around. Coach Flex, a four-armed instructor from a low-gravity world, checked his tablet with concern. "Student Jack, your file says you're from Earth. We'll need to set up special safety protocols." "It's okay, Coach," Jack said. "I can handle standard gravity. Actually, it feels pretty light in here." The coach's skin turned pale. "Light? This is set to galactic standard, 1/3 of your Earth gravity." Other students watched with interest as Jack walked normally while they bounced or glided around. The iridescent scaled student from yesterday, named Ray, floated nearby in a low-gravity field. "Today's exercise is simple," Coach Flex announced. "Basic mobility and reaction testing. Everyone pair up for catch practice with these training spheres." The spheres were soft, glowing balls designed to help students practice movement in various gravity conditions. Jack paired up with Ray, who still needed their gravity reduction field to move comfortably. "I'll go easy," Ray said kindly, worried about the human's safety. Jack nodded, hiding a smile. The game began, and Ray gently tossed the sphere. To their surprise, Jack caught it effortlessly with one hand. "Good throw," Jack said. "Want me to toss it back?" Before Ray could answer, another student's wild throw went off course, heading straight for a delicate crystalline student named Spark. Without thinking, Jack moved. The entire class gasped. In what seemed like an impossible burst of speed, Jack crossed the gymnasium floor in 3 huge bounds. He actually jumped without assistance, caught the wayward sphere in midair, and landed smoothly between Spark and danger. The gymnasium fell silent. "Are you okay?" Jack asked Spark, who stood frozen in amazement. How did you move like that?" Spark's crystalline form sparkled with excitement. Coach Flex rushed over, all 4 arms waving in distress. "Student Jack, that was incredibly dangerous. The strain on your system." "Actually, Coach," Jack said, scratching his head, "that was nothing. Back on Earth, we play sports way more intense than this. Ever heard of parkour? Or football?" The coach pulled up Earth's data on his tablet, and his eyes widened. "Your species developed under constant 3 times standard gravity, and you still choose to jump around for fun." The other students gathered around, their fear forgotten in favor of curiosity. Ray floated closer, still in their gravity reduction field. "What's football?" they asked. "Oh, it's great." Jack brightened. "You run around carrying a ball while other players try to tackle you to the ground. Sometimes you get thrown several meters, but it's all part of the fun." "Thrown?" someone squeaked. "Yeah, and that's just regular football. Wait till you hear about rugby." Coach Flex quickly intervened. "Perhaps we should focus on today's lesson. Student Jack, would you be willing to demonstrate some basic Earth exercises? At reduced intensity, of course." Jack spent the rest of the class showing his classmates simple Earth exercises: jumping jacks, push-ups, and light jogging. To him, they were warm-up moves. To everyone else, they looked like superhuman feats. "Remember," Jack explained while doing one-handed push-ups, "Earth's gravity makes us build more muscle just to walk around. Plus, our bones grow denser to handle the pressure." As the class ended, the other students looked at Jack with new respect. Ray even tried a jump without their gravity field, managing a small hop before floating back to safety. "Maybe next time," Jack encouraged them, "I'll show you how we dance on Earth." The coach's color changed to a worried purple. He made a mental note to review all Earth entertainment files before the next class. Something told him he needed to be better prepared for whatever humans considered fun. Professor First's xenobiology class was everyone's favorite. Today's topic was survival adaptations across worlds, and the classroom buzzed with excitement. After yesterday's gym class display, everyone wanted to hear more about Earth. "Today we'll discuss how different species handle environmental threats," Professor First announced, their skin shifting to teaching orange. Let's start with common predator defense mechanisms. Ray raised a shimmering hand. Professor, could we hear about Earth's predators? Jack mentioned something called a honey badger yesterday. The professor's skin rippled with interest. Ah, yes, student Jack. Please share with us about Earth's wildlife. Jack stood up, looking slightly embarrassed. Well, honey badgers are pretty tough. They fight lions sometimes, and they're famous for not giving up. But they're not even our scariest animals. Not the scariest. Several students leaned forward in their hover seats. Yeah, we've got bears that can run at high speed, swim, and climb trees. They're about 4 times my size. And there's this whole continent called Australia where almost everything is venomous or poisonous or both. Professor First quickly checked their data tablet. Their skin paled to a shocked white. Student Jack is correct. Earth's wildlife database is remarkable. But how do humans defend against such creatures? Spark asked, their crystalline form glittering with curiosity. We mostly just avoid them, Jack shrugged. Though sometimes we have to scare them off or fight back. My uncle once punched a bear to protect his dog. The classroom erupted in gasps. Professor First's skin showed patches of disbelief purple. He punched a bear. Ray's scales shifted through rainbow colors of shock. Yeah, though you're not supposed to. Usually, we just make noise to scare them away. The funny thing is, most Earth animals aren't even trying to be dangerous. Even our plant life can be pretty intense. The professor pulled up Earth's botanical database. Indeed, many Earth plants produce chemical defenses that would be classified as military-grade toxins on other worlds. Oh, like coffee? Jack pulled out his thermos. Anyone want to try some? The professor's skin flashed alarm red. Student Jack, that beverage contains a lethal stimulant. Caffeine. It's fine, Professor. Humans drink it every day. It just helps us stay awake. As if to demonstrate, Jack took a long sip. The class watched in horror as he consumed what they considered a deadly poison. But how? A gaseous student named Mist swirled in confusion. That's nothing, Jack continued. Wait till you hear about our immune system. Earth's got so many bacteria and viruses that our bodies had to develop internal defenses. Professor First projected a diagram of the human immune system. Fascinating. Your species actually allows millions of microscopic battles to occur inside your bodies constantly. Pretty much. Our white blood cells hunt down and eat harmful bacteria. And we've got good bacteria living in our gut that help us digest food. The professor's skin shifted to scientific excitement yellow. Students, this is unprecedented. Most species evolve external protection or environmental avoidance. Humans evolved to fight microscopic wars inside their bodies. Is that why you're so warm? Ray asked, remembering the medical bay readings. Partly, Jack nodded. Our body temperature helps fight infections. Plus, we can sweat to cool down, which lets us run for hours without overheating. Professor First's lecture had turned into an impromptu Earth biology session. They displayed more data about human adaptations, healing abilities, endurance running, temperature regulation, and poison resistance. In conclusion, the professor said as class ended, their skin now knowledge-sharing green. Earth's harsh conditions created a species that treats deadly threats as mere inconveniences. Student Jack's casual attitude toward danger makes more sense now. As students filed out, Jack heard them whispering about internal armies and poison-drinking deathworlders. Ray lingered behind. Jack, they asked hesitantly, what's the scariest thing on Earth? Jack thought for a moment. Probably other humans. We're the only species that got so tough we had to make rules to protect ourselves from each other. That comment kept the class buzzing with discussion for days. The Academy's annual wilderness training took place on Planet Gentle, a Class 3 world chosen for its challenging conditions. To Jack, it looked like a peaceful summer camp back on Earth, with light gravity, mild temperatures, and calm weather. Remember, Professor Guide warned the students as they exited the shuttle This environment is rated moderately hazardous. Everyone must wear their protective suits and stay within safety boundaries. Jack looked down at his regular academy uniform. Do I need a suit, Professor? Your Earth adaptation should. Professor Guide checked their tablets. Actually exceed survival requirements here. But please be careful. Ray, wearing an environmental suit that made their scales shimmer like rainbow fish, stood next to Jack. You're really going out there unprotected? This is nothing. Jack smiled. Looks easier than Boy Scouts back home. What are Boy Scouts? Spark asked, their crystalline form encased in shock-absorbing gel. It's where Earth kids learn outdoor survival skills. You know, making fires, building shelters, tracking animals, that kind of stuff. You teach your children to make fire. Mist swirled anxiously in their containment field. Before Jack could explain, the weather monitoring system beeped. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon, making everyone except Jack nervous. Level 2 weather disturbance approaching, Professor Guide announced. We should return to the shuttle. It's just a light thunderstorm, Jack said, looking at the clouds. On Earth, this would be perfect camping weather. Want me to show you how to set up storm shelters? The professor hesitated, then nodded. They had read about human weather resistance and decided this could be educational. Jack sprang into action. He showed the class how to secure their equipment, find natural shelter, and create drainage channels around their camp. His classmates watched in amazement as he worked without any protective gear. The key is to stay dry and warm, Jack explained, helping Ray adjust their shelter. Back home, we deal with hurricanes and tornadoes. This is just a regular storm. The rain started, accompanied by what the aliens considered dangerous wind speeds of 20 miles per hour. While the others huddled in their protected spaces, Jack walked around checking on everyone, completely unbothered by the weather. But aren't you cold? Ray asked, watching water drip off Jack's hair. Nah, this is like a spring shower. Though I did bring hot chocolate if anyone wants to try it. Is it like coffee? Someone squeaked in terror, remembering the biology class incident. Jack laughed. It's milder. Perfect for staying warm during storms. As the storm peaked, a branch from one of the local plant forms crashed near their camp. While others screamed, Jack calmly walked over and moved it away. His Earth-evolved muscles making light work of what they considered a massive obstacle. You know, he said, returning to the group, this reminds me of my first camping trip. We had a bear visit our campsite. What did you do? Spark asked, both terrified and fascinated. Made ourselves look big and made noise until it left. Earth animals usually avoid humans if they can. The storm passed quickly, leaving the alien students amazed at how their human classmate had turned a crisis into a casual outdoor lesson. Professor Guide's datapad was full of notes about human weather adaptation. I must ask, the professor said as they packed up, do humans actually enjoy these conditions? Oh yeah, Jack nodded. We go camping for fun. Some people even climb mountains or dive in oceans just for the experience. Climb mountains for fun. Ray's scales turned pale blue with disbelief. Sure, I could teach you some basic climbing techniques if you want. Professor Guide quickly interrupted. Perhaps we should focus on basic survival first. Though I must admit, Student Jack, your species' definition of survival seems to include what most consider impossible. As they boarded the shuttle, Jack heard his classmates whispering about adventure sports and recreational danger. He smiled, thinking about how they'd react to hearing about skydiving. The Academy's advanced chemistry lab looked like something from a sci-fi movie, with floating containers of colorful liquids and automated safety systems everywhere. Professor Mix, a gaseous being contained in a special suit, prepared for today's lesson on toxic material handling. Today, we'll study common chemical hazards, they announced through their translator. Everyone must wear Class A protection suits and triple-layer gloves. Jack raised his hand. Professor, do I need the full suit? Earth chemistry labs usually just need goggles and regular gloves. The professor's gaseous form swirled with concern. Student Jack, we're handling corrosive compounds today. Even a drop cold. Oh, like acids. Jack peered at the nearest container. This looks like citric acid. We put that in drinks back home. The entire class turned to stare at him. Ray, already sealed in their protective suit, made a choking sound. You, drink acids. Professor Mix's form condensed with shock. Well, yeah. Citrus fruits are full of it. Oranges, lemons, limes. They're all acidic. Really tasty too. Professor Mix quickly checked their database. Fascinating. Earth life forms regularly process what other species consider industrial-grade corrosives. The practical work began, with students carefully manipulating small amounts of chemicals through robotic arms. Jack wore safety goggles and basic gloves, looking completely relaxed as he worked. When a drop of solution splashed near Spark's crystalline form, everyone panicked except Jack. He calmly grabbed a neutralizing agent and cleaned up the spill with his gloved hands. "How are you not dissolved?" Spark asked, still trembling. "Human skin is pretty tough," Jack explained. "Plus, we've got this layer of oils that helps protect us. Our stomach acid is way stronger than this stuff anyway." Professor Mix's form rippled with interest. "Your digestive system contains stronger acids." "Yeah, helps us break down food. Actually, lots of Earth foods have different acids and chemicals, like capsaicin in spicy peppers or ethanol in fermented drinks." Ethanol. The professor's form turned pale. The industrial solvent. "We use it in drinks sometimes, though you need to be an adult, and too much is bad for you." Mist, who had been quietly observing, suddenly spoke up. "Is that why humans can breathe oxygen? Because you're resistant to chemicals." "Oxygen?" Jack looked confused. "What's wrong with oxygen?" Professor Mix projected a diagram on the main screen. Oxygen is one of the most reactive elements in the galaxy. It corrodes metals, breaks down compounds, and is lethal to most life forms in its pure state. "But that's what makes it great," Jack said enthusiastically. "Our cells use it to produce energy. That's why we're warm-blooded and can move so fast." Earth life turned a poison into a power source. The professor's form swirled with excitement as they pulled up more Earth data. Students observe. Earth organisms didn't just survive oxygen. They evolved to require it. They transformed a deadly toxin into the basis of their active metabolism. "That's pretty normal for Earth stuff," Jack added. "Like how plants turn carbon dioxide and sunlight into food, or how our liver breaks down all sorts of toxins. Your body deliberately processes toxins." Ray's scales shifted to amazed purple. "Sure. That's why humans can eat lots of different foods. Our bodies figure out what's useful and get rid of the rest." As the class ended, Professor Mix held Jack back. "Student Jack, would you be willing to provide samples for our research department? Your species' chemical processing abilities are revolutionary." "No problem," Jack smiled. "Though you might want to check out Earth bacteria too. Some of them eat nuclear waste." The professor's gaseous form completely froze for a moment. Then they rushed to update the Earth life forms database, adding a new category: chemical processing, beyond standard classifications. Later, in the cafeteria, Jack's classmates watched in fascination as he enjoyed his spicy Earth lunch, complete with acidic sauce. They had finally understood. Humans weren't just tough, they were walking chemical processing plants. Red warning lights flashed throughout the Galactic Academy as the emergency alert system blared. A massive solar flare had struck the station's outer shields, damaging critical systems. The backup generators kicked in, but the environmental controls started failing one section at a time. "All students proceed to emergency shelters," the announcement echoed through the halls. This is not a drill. Jack was in the library with Ray when the crisis began. The temperature was rising rapidly, and oxygen levels were fluctuating wildly. Ray's scales had turned emergency white with fear. "The environmental seals in Section C are failing," Ray said, checking their datapad. "Temperatures rising past safe levels." Jack remembered something. "Isn't that where the main control room is? The one that regulates life support for the whole station?" "Yes, but no one can reach it now. The conditions are lethal: high gravity, extreme heat, and toxic oxygen levels." Jack stood up straight. "Those are just Earth conditions. I can handle it." Before anyone could stop him, Jack rushed to the emergency command center, where Professor First and other staff were monitoring the situation. "I can help," Jack said, bursting into the room. "Those conditions won't hurt me." Professor First's skin showed panic red. "Student Jack, the environmental readings in Section C are beyond safe parameters, even in protective suits." "Professor, those readings are like a hot summer day on Earth. Let me try." The station shuddered as another system failed. They were running out of options. "The manual override requires physical activation," a technician said. "The robots are offline, and our protective suits can't handle those conditions." "Then it's a good thing you have a human student," Jack said confidently. "Just tell me what to do." After a quick briefing, Jack headed for Section C. The security doors opened with a hiss of superheated air. To the aliens watching through cameras, it looked like he was walking into an inferno. "Temperature 38 degrees Celsius, the computer announced. "Gravity at 3.2 standard. Oxygen concentration at Earth normal levels." "Feels like home," Jack muttered, moving forward while everyone watched in amazement. The control room was like a sauna, but Jack had experienced worse in Minnesota summers. He reached the main console and began the repair sequence they'd explained. "How are you still functioning?" Professor First asked through the comm system. "Those conditions should be incapacitating." "This is nothing," Jack said, working on the controls. "Earth gets way hotter than this. People run marathons in worse conditions." "Marathons? In this heat?" "Yeah, we have this race through Death Valley. That's a really hot desert. This is maybe a warm beach day compared to that." As Jack worked, he explained how humans dealt with similar challenges on Earth. He told them about firefighters who ran into burning buildings, deep-sea divers who worked under crushing pressures, and mountain climbers who handled extreme cold and low oxygen. "Your species voluntarily enters such conditions?" someone asked in disbelief. "Sure. Humans like challenging themselves. It's how we learn and grow stronger." Finally, the last override sequence activated. The environmental systems reset, and normal conditions began returning throughout the station. Jack walked back out of Section C, slightly sweaty but otherwise fine. The emergency response team was waiting with medical equipment, but Jack just asked for a glass of water. "I could use a cold drink, but otherwise I'm okay. Though I should probably change my shirt." News of Jack's actions spread quickly through the station. By dinner time, everyone had heard how the human student had casually walked through lethal conditions to save the day. "You know what's funny?" Jack told his amazed classmates later. "Back on Earth, this would barely make the local news. Humans do stuff like this all the time." That evening, the Academy Board met to discuss updating their emergency protocols. They added a new section titled, "In case of environmental crisis, find nearest human." The Academy's Grand Hall was packed for the annual Xenobiology Symposium. This year's special topic, Understanding Class 4 Deathworld Species. After the recent station emergency, everyone wanted to learn more about humans. Jack stood backstage, feeling nervous for the first time since arriving at the Academy. Ray was with him, their scales showing encouraging gold colors. "Just be yourself," Ray said. "That's what taught us the most about Earth." Professor First introduced Jack to thunderous applause. He walked to the center stage, where a holographic display was ready to show images of Earth. "Hi everyone," Jack started simply. "I'm here to talk about my home planet, Earth. But first, I want to show you something beautiful." The hologram displayed Earth's oceans, with whales breaching the waves. Then it showed forests full of life, mountains touching clouds and fields of flowers swaying in the wind. Most people think of Earth as just a dangerous place, Jack continued. But everything that makes it tough also makes it amazing. He showed more images: a thunderstorm creating a rainbow, wolves caring for their pups, bees pollinating flowers, and humans helping injured animals. Yes, Earth has strong gravity, but that gave us the strength to help each other. Yes, we have extreme weather, but that taught us to build shelters and share them. Yes, we have dangerous predators, but they taught us courage and respect for life. The audience was silent, captivated. This was a different view of the death world they'd feared. Our oxygen-rich atmosphere, Jack smiled. It lets our forests grow tall and our birds soar high. Our powerful immune systems, they let us heal and adapt. Our dense muscles, they let us lift up those who fall. He showed scenes of human achievements: doctors saving lives, firefighters rescuing people, athletes pushing their limits, scientists making discoveries. Humans don't just survive Earth's challenges. We learn from them. Every hardship taught us something valuable. High gravity taught us persistence. Predators taught us awareness. Storms taught us preparation. Diseases taught us medicine. Ray watched proudly as their friend showed the galaxy a new way to see Earth and humans. But our greatest strength isn't physical, Jack continued. It's how Earth's challenges taught us to care for each other. When disaster strikes, humans don't run away. We run toward those who need help. We're tough because we need to be there for each other. He showed scenes of human cooperation, communities rebuilding after disasters, people from different cultures working together, children helping elderly neighbors. That's why I was able to help during the station emergency. Not just because Earth made me tough, but because Earth taught me that being tough means being there for others. The final image showed Earth from space, a beautiful blue marble in the darkness. Recently, Earth was reclassified as a Class 5 world, Jack revealed. Some think that makes it even more dangerous, but I think it just shows how much we have to share with the galaxy. Because everything that made Earth challenging also made it wonderful. Professor First's skin showed deep appreciation blue as they returned to the stage. Thank you, Student Jack. You've shown us that deathworld species aren't just about survival. They're about turning challenges into strengths. The audience erupted in applause. Even the gaseous students swirled with excitement colors. Later, at the celebration dinner, Jack's classmates had a surprise. They'd learned to make simple Earth foods with safety supervision to show their appreciation. We may not be as tough as humans, Ray said, their scales showing friendship rainbow colors, but we can learn to understand you better. Jack looked around at his alien friends, remembering how scared they'd been of him at first. Now they were celebrating Earth's strength instead of fearing it. You know what makes humans really tough, he said, smiling at his classmates. Having friends like you who help us see our world in a new way. The Academy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the toughest species had the gentlest hearts.